Rebecca, you have a story about a purge.
I do. This is something that's interesting too. I know The Purge. Have you guys ever seen that?
No.
No? Okay, fine.
I saw Weapons yesterday, and I cannot recommend it highly enough. It's the best movie of the summer as far as I'm concerned. But go ahead.
It's getting great reviews. I have not seen it yet. The Purge is a series about this idea that people live a regular life, but then one time during the year, anything goes, and you can go out and alleviate your aggressions, and you can murder. So anyway, The Purge. I think this is kind of what's happening. So if you remember a couple of weeks ago, we talked about the new Gospel Topics essays that dropped, and one of them was about plural marriage. And one statement that it made, I felt, was something directed right at people who some of us call polygamy deniers. They would call themselves fidelity affirmers or monogamy. There's a new phrase every time. Anyway, I'm just, they identify as fidelity affirmers and monogamy affirmers. So I took this statement that the church made. This was pretty direct. So the question asked in the essay and then answered is, did Joseph Smith practice plural marriage, or was it introduced by Brigham Young and others? And of course, this is the main theme behind the polygamy deniers. It wasn't Joseph Smith. He was faithful to only Emma, and Brigham Young is the one that introduced polygamy and all the hell that was unleashed after that. So the statement from the church says Joseph Smith introduced the practice, not Brigham Young. Boom, there it is. You can't be more clear than that. Credible contemporary sources, and one of those is the Nauvoo Expositor. We talked about that. Document Joseph's practice of plural marriage. Later, many faithful men and women who knew of Joseph's practice of plural marriage gave sworn testimony of it. So the church is doubling down here. Rather than deny, I feel like they use the word deny as a direct shout out, dog whistle to polygamy deniers. Rather than deny this historical practice, we can apply the principles outlined in Seeking Answers to Questions to help us better understand it. So this was in the essay, and I feel that this was a shot across the bow. If you don't know what that means, here's the definition. A shot across the bow derives from the naval practice of firing a cannon shot across the bow of an opponent's ship to show that you are prepared to do battle. You haven't hurt him yet. You haven't done anything yet, but this is it. You are shooting across the bow. We are coming for you, right? Because I think the church is finally waking up and realizing what a growing movement this is. I've talked about my story before of attending, the part 2, Who Killed Joseph Smith, and seeing a packed theater of over 500 people with these beliefs. So I think that
was years ago.
That was a couple years ago. Yeah. And I think that the LDS church is finally kind of sitting up and going, wait, what? These people are among us with their beliefs. So just last week, I came across 2 incidences of somebody who falls into that camp, fidelity affirmer, polygamy denier, being told, you got to take this down. So going after actual people, not just
Michelle Stone, of course.
Well, that's my next slide. But first, I'm going to talk about this guy. Yeah, no, it's okay. I know. So what happened to this guy's channel? I'd never heard of his channel before. It's called The Saints, the Standard of Truth Restored. It says you've read Saints, you've heard the story, but what if the story wasn't the whole story, right? This is a podcast for those of us who have questions that can't be answered. We're opening the archives, re-examining assumptions. So basically, kind of like a Michelle Stone kind of a thing. They're going to look through things and they're going to be able to exonerate Joseph. He was faithful only to Emma. So this channel has only been up since February. It has maybe under 300 subscribers. I think only 6 videos. But all of a sudden, the poor guy had to put this video up. And we'll play just a few minutes of it. But he kind of describes an experience where he was hauled into the bishop and stake president's office and there was an ultimatum.
My wife and I were called in to meet with the stake president and the bishop about my channel and about speaking openly about my beliefs and opinions concerning Joseph Smith and my belief that he was not a polygamist. And that polygamy did not originate with him. To keep it short and brief, we were asked to take down our channel or face church discipline. And they went straight to it of taking our membership away and having us excommunicated.
Okay, that's probably enough. It does go on past there, but here's a guy who just started a channel. These are his beliefs. And personally, like on the ground level, his stake president and bishop call him in and his wife and say, you're going to lose your membership if you don't take down your channel. He decided to take down his videos and he's going to try to create some other kind of content. He goes on to say that he had some spiritual experiences about being tried and tested like some of the prophets, and he arrived at the idea that, they should take this down for now. But again, right there, taking him straight to the bishop's office and saying, you're going to be excommunicated if you share these views. What do either of you think about that?
What I think is that it's an amazing time in church history where the leaders of the church are put in the position where they're not only having to talk about Joseph Smith's polygamy, which they did not do for 150 years, but that they are also having to defend it against members of the church who say, no, he was moral, he was upright, he was virtuous, he wouldn't do something as low down and dirty as the kind of polygamy that Joseph Smith is alleged to have done. And the church has to say, no, he was that low down and dirty.
He was horrible. That's right. And again, in the comments, I know I'm not necessarily defending him. I'm just saying in the real world, you can create whatever kind of channel you want. You can say whatever you want. You don't have this authority figure over your head that's threatening something meaningful in your life if you do that. So it's just kind of interesting. The last slide in this segment. Did you have something to say? Yeah, go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say, to the point RFM just made, it's, I think, 2014 when the LDS Church acknowledges for the very first time in public or correlated material outside of Family Search where Joseph Smith is a polygamist. And now we're to the point where just a few shortly, again, if you ask, why did the church not tell us? It's because this is what would happen.
Yeah.
Changing your narrative 200 years into your history is going to cause problems. And it has. And so by now acknowledging just in the last few years that Joseph Smith was in fact a polygamist, even though we never told you up to this moment, is going to cause a lot of cognitive dissonance. And how some people have handled that is to just have Joseph Smith not be a polygamist. They've come a long way. It is interesting that the church is now punishing people for holding the view it wanted them to hold in 2013 and before.
Very good. I like that idea.
That's the irony, I think. And again, a lot of people in this camp, they start with the idea that they want to prove, and then they kind of work backwards toward it. We've heard that before. So
well, yes, they want Joseph Smith to be pure and virtuous, that they are willing to pour into it and then limit. Here's one of the chief leaders in this movement. They're willing to pour in hundreds and thousands of hours and an unlimited amount of mental gymnastics in order to make Joseph Smith as pure as the driven snow.
Yeah. And I don't know if all of us recognize how many of these believers are just in your regular average ward. I think everybody in the chat probably knows one or two, probably has family members. You would be surprised if you start asking people how many are now kind of in this camp. Now, of course, you mentioned Michelle Stone, and we reported, widely on this a couple months ago, where she was brought in by her stake president and told, you take down all your videos. She had hundreds. She made money off this channel. She was huge in this arena, and she did it. She took the videos off her channel, but she put them onto her website. They were still available. They were still there, but she was no longer producing new material. And I'm talking these were episodes to rival Mormon stories length. They were detailed as they really tried to dig in and somehow, make Joseph monogamous again, if you want to make a hat. But interestingly, just this week, like I said, her materials did exist on her website. Here is what's on her website this time. This is Welcome to 132 Problems, Revisiting Mormon Polygamy. Notice it says, due to continued pressures from several sides, and when she took everything down at the beginning, she mentioned pressures, right? So due to continued pressure from several sides, Michelle has asked that her content be taken down for the foreseeable future. So now it's really gone. For questions, please don't hesitate to reach out to us via the Contact Us form. Those are the administrators. So now everything's really gone. And those were just two things that happened this week.
So how's the journal going?
Yeah. Well, no, this is what's interesting. I have learned that she is working very diligently behind the scenes on the Journal of Mormon Polygamy and the next conference that they're going to have. So I'm confused by her role in all of this. But apparently she's following her leaders and the pressures and doing, at least on the surface, what they're telling her to do.
It'll be interesting to see where that goes, because my hunch is that she will not be able, you say she's working on a journal. She will not be able to abstain from speaking her mind forever. And there's a lot of us who, when push comes to shove, we play the game a little more intelligently just to see exactly where that little line is.
Looking at it from her point of view, and that Brigham Young is the guy who's the bad guy in all of this, right? And Joseph was wonderful, and Brigham Young even had something to do with his murder. And then everybody else since him has been apostate because they cut off from the keys and the restoration of the priesthood and everything. I mean, my goodness, if killing the prophet doesn't cut you off from the keys, nothing will. But now, from her point of view, the leadership is now leaning on her. The apostate leadership is leaning on her to stop talking about the truth, and she's going along with it. This is the part I don't get. It's not, it's not for me to get. It's her life, and she can make whatever decision she wants, but I'm just not understanding.
Right. I believe they believe the church is true and there is priesthood power within it. It's gone awry. They look at prophets, I think, as administrators, not necessarily somebody that's I don't know. They love the church. They want to stay in it. They can deconstruct to a certain point, but then they have to keep that romanticized origin story. That has to still be there. You can't make that push beyond that. So, but I agree with you, Bill. This new polygamy essay and saying Nauvoo expositor is a credible source, she must be chomping at the bit to get out there and get some information out, because this is her wheelhouse completely. And she's already done so much material on it. And here the church is shooting across her bow personally. This is all her. I bet she really wants to get out there.
There was somebody that came up in my feed who had taken one of her videos, at least one, in which she's responding to my argument about the affidavits in the Nauvoo expositor and uploading it on their channel.
Yeah.
And I saw that like a week ago.
Yeah, no, it's important. Your episode that you did, with Mormonish, where we helped you make your slides and then you did your presentation and did it on your own show. It is so important. To me, that's the smoking gun.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it. That's not what I was driving at. What I was driving at is they're responding to it with her material anyway on somebody else's website. And I don't know. I just don't think the church is going to be willing to play along with all these. From the church's position, okay, it's got to look like she's playing games.
To your previous comment that you can't make sense of her essentially agreeing. She take her perspective. She thinks she's telling the truth. And what she's choosing to do is to go along with the church, sacrificing her own character in at least a way, in order to perpetuate what the church wants, to be quiet about the truth. When Mormonism, in spite of all of its unhealthiness, it does have its scriptures that teach us to step forward and tell the truth bravely, no matter what the consequences are. Abinadi is a great example from the scriptures. And yet often when believers push comes to shove, they will choose not to be Abinadi because the church will punish them if they do. And they step aside and go quietly into the shadows.
If I could address one thing that was said in the comment, they said they didn't think Michelle had anything to do with the Who Killed Joseph Smith movies. This was the first time I ever encountered Michelle. Is when my co-host and I had tickets. Steve Pinecker got them for us. We went to the premiere, 500 people. This is when we first started to get a sense of it before the movie premiered. Michelle Stone was one of the speakers. She spoke probably for 45 minutes, starting like at 9:00 at night. It went on forever. And this is the first time I heard her. And one of the most interesting things she said is that a lot of us with this belief, we're in your wards, and, don't force this on people. But if somebody seems receptive, interested, you can bring this up. I mean, this is the first time I had this idea that this group exists. And not only that, they might be evangelizing a little bit in different wards. So there is some connection because she did give a talk at that premiere. So it's interesting.
I guess we'll never find out.
We'll
Since you
never
can't
know.
talk anymore.
You know what? I know she'll be back. I predict it. So anyway, that's all I had for that. The church is coming after polygamy deniers, monogamy affirmers, fidelity affirmers. I think it'll happen some more.